Octavia experienced a moment of panic when a shadow fell across her. She relaxed when she realized it was a pony, only to freeze up again when she spoke. Pinkie Pie? Pinkie Pie looked sheepishly. One of the upswings of her head wound was when she had slept a lot, which suited Octavia since it gave less opportunity for her to say something incriminating. Not that Pinkie was spilling the beans was the thing that she could have been worried about, apparently. Is that you? The stallion was barely out of colthood and sported a pair of buck teeth that made him look more like a rabbit than a pony. When he spoke, everything came out slightly lispy and fringed with delight, as if he couldn't believe his luck at finding some pony he knew. His accent marked him definitely, with not part of the usual Canterlot crowd, but with as such fitted in with that idea. Hey, it's me, Hayseed. He swung sideways to show off his cutie mark with 3 ripe turnips. Hayseed turnip truck. Uh-huh. Pinkie blinked at him. Sorry, mister, but I think you got the wrong pony. My name's Jubilation. He frowned, clearly disheartened. His eyes traveled to her cutie mark and frown deepened. But, good sir, do you want something with my friend or myself? Octavia interrupted. Only we're trying to rest and preserve our strength, since we have yet to be fed or watered as well, you know. Oh, he fell back, disappointment hunching his shoulders and shortening his steps as he backed away. I guess not. Sorry, ladies. Yet he continued to look over his shoulder at them as he returned to his corner. A circle of empty space around him made him look like an island of a sea of upper-class fretting. Did Ritzy or Vanglorious came back yet? Pinkie asked with a yawn. Octavia scanned the crowd. Not yet. Oh, Pinkie grimaced. Octavia, do you believe in bad feelings? Excuse me? My tummy feels funny, but not from before, kinda teeny-tumbly, and my knees ache. Did you hurt yourself when you knelt down? She shook her head. No, I don't think that's it. I don't know how I know it, but I know a funny tummy and a hurty knees means something bad. I just don't know what. She looked up at Octavia with the combination of worry and adoration, the way the small child looks up at the older one in adults for guidance. Does that make me weird? Not at all. I have a bad feeling too. Do your tummy and knees feel okay? Okay? Yeah, it's a word I made up. Kind of a spooky and icky. I feel all ooky. I think we all feel a bit ooky, Octavia consolingly said. It is to be expected. I guess so. Pinkie poked experimentally at one knee and then another, as if trying to force the hurt out of the backs so it could soak onto the floor and leave her alone. I don't like it. It feels worse whenever I think about Ritzy or Vanglorious. She gave a melodramatic shudder. See? Then don't think about them, Octavia advised, though she knew that it was close to impossible. The ponies around them had talked of little else since they had been taken away. Think of something else. Something happier. Pinkie scrunched up her face, thought. Like what? Oh, I don't know. Octavia watched the stallion Hayseed turnip truck had called himself, and he continued to watch them. She went on absently, finally achieving the first chair cello in the orchestra. That's something that make you happy, Tave, not me. Octavia blinked. What did you just call me? Tavy? Why in the dickens would you call me that? Irritation skirted through her. No pony ever called her anything like that except her given name. Well, for many years. My name is Octavia, she snapped. It just sounded right. Pinkie quawled and tried to curl up into the tiniest ball she could. I didn't mean to make you angry. Ow, my nose! With her injury, she cut a pretty pathetic figure. Octavia's irritation instantly melted away. Pinkie Pie could not have known why she preferred to use her full name before today. They had never actually spoken. After all, it's right, Duplication. I'm not angry. When Pinkie stayed curled up and she nodded. Then why don't you think about, She tried to think what else would make a pony like Pinkie Pie happiest. Fluffy kittens? Was that a scorching flow? Or some sort of yellow baby chicks? Pinky sniffed. Puppy dogs with waggy tails? Yes, of course, and bunny rabbits with wiggly ears. And baby alligators with snappy, nippy teeth? Baby alligators? Yeah, they're super cute. Have you ever met one? I can't say I have, Octavia admitted. When I grow up, I want to have a baby alligator as a pet. Pinky uncured when she could look at Octavia in the eye. Do you want a pet? I don't think so. I guess a cello could count as a pet, if you have to look after it as much as an animal. What is remarkably absurd observation? It's a what? Pinky tilted her head in confusion. A clever thing to think of, Octavia translated. Oh! Compliment exhaled the punch of such proportions that nearly stretched all the way around Pinky's head to meet the back of her neck. Cool, when I grow up, I want to be smart and use the big, long words like you. Octavia. Octavia's smile hitched to a little at the near slip, but remained it in place. More remarkable, however, that this was when she had stopped to think about it. She realized that her smile was not fake, as it had been before. Somehow, which was annoying, Pink Pony had actually managed to make her smile for real in the time of the worst situation since she had never been embroiled. She looked up to see that they were still being watched. Hasty turnip truck looked away for the first few seconds of a shared staring, and although Octavia's knees and stomach remained pain-free, she had her own bad feeling about what lay in store for them all. Brayburn skidded into a halt in the cloud of dust. Little Strongheart coughed, not because of him, but because of the other two massive stallions who also skidded to a halt behind him. They pawed on the ground as adrenaline continued to race through their systems from the gallop. Appaloosa wasn't too far away, but taking the journey at full was still enough to make any pony jittery. Their own forelegs felt like they were made from water, and she had been dragging anything behind her. Two buffalo were waiting for them. Little Strongheart recognized Laughing Cheek's assistant and Talking Bird. One of the bulls had gone with her to find the fallen ponies in the first place. Any change? Brayburn asked immediately. His nostrils flared as he was panting, but he barely paused to let his body accumulate to the sudden lack of motion. Laughing Creek's assistant sadly shook her head. Pony feathers. He turned to the stallions. You fellers okay to stay hitched into the wagon until we help the others unload? Sure thing, boomed the gray pony. His luxurious black mane reminded of Little Strongheart of storm clouds, especially since his cutie mark was a bolt with brilliant yellow lightning. She wondered that if it was just a reference to how swiftly he could run. The orange stallion next to him bore a cutie mark of hair at full speed, which seemed to support the idea, even putting their loads where they had been kept up with herself and Brayburn. Much obliged, Brayburn said, as he moved on to the back and unhitched the debarking board. A clutch of ponies, and all smaller than stallions, all got down with varying degrees of ease. One mare in particular had trouble. She wobbled on stiff legs until Brayburn helped her down. Thank you kindly, Niplet, she said in a voice like tumbleweeds, fetching up to against the wooden fence. Little Strongheart had rarely seen the older residents of Appaloosa, since they were most nervous creatures, who hid inside the shade whenever she and the buffalo came into town. This mare, however, looked her square in the face, and as soon as they were level, she had done the same back in Appaloosa, when Brayburn had followed her out of the wooden house and asked her 5 times between there and the wagon whenever she was sure she wanted to come along. Of course I do, she finally snapped. Do you expect me to sit there twiddling my hooves while young of Applejack's in trouble? Use that your brain of yours, boy. Their tirade had ended only because she had spotted a Little Strongheart and hobbled right up to her. You're the one who found them. Yes, ma'am. Little Strongheart had picked up some of the ways ponies had talked to each other, and understood this to be the term of respect when you didn't know a mare's name. For some reason, calling stranger brother or sister was frowned upon in any pony society, while it was quite normal for a buffalo. The old mare had nodded. Thank you kindly. You've done Apple family a great service, and I hope we can someday repay y'all in kind. You're related to Applejack? Little Strongheart had concluded. It wasn't a great leap of logic, since the mare's cutie mark was an apple-themed and her coat was a pale shade of orange that looked like it only grown paler with age. Her grandmother's my favorite's cousin. Grammy Apple Rose, we be best you gotta get out of the sun, Brayburn advised, ducking his head a smidge as if to expecting her to swipe at him for his impertinence. Darn thing ain't going down so long I'm begging to forget that moon looked like. All right, Niblet, help him your Grammy old bones on board. After they had finished loading up all the ponies who had volunteered to help, Little Strongheart had looked sidelong at Brayburn as they took their places at the head of the entourage. Is that your grandmother? Grammy Apple Rose ain't my real grandmother, he had explained, but she had raised me good as any ma or pa could ever do. Most ponies in Appaloosa called their Grammy even though they aren't related. Oh, it was such a buffalo thing to do, gave Little Strongheart hope for the future between their two communities. She had also looked sidelong at him before they set off, however. Niblet? His smile had been tight but genial. Hey, I was a late boomer, okay? It ain't my fault I was the smallest colt in my class at school. I'm still the faster than any pony else now. As if to prove it, he had let out another holler and galloped away, leaving her and the other Appaloosians to follow. Apple Rose now looked at the buffalo encampment with her critical eye. Never would have believed it, if I didn't see it for myself, she said with the candor of an old. Y'all really do live in tents. Little Strongheart didn't take offense to that statement. Yes, we do. Strange. Don't y'all like solid walls around ya? Yes, but we prefer the ability to move whenever we wish. The idea of being tied to this place by wood, bricks, and mortar is one thing we find strange. I guess that takes all sorts. The old mare licked her dry lips. Go on then, Niblet. Take me to her. Little Strongheart led the collection of ponies to the two large tents, but was Brayburn who had nosed aside the flap to the old mare to enter. Talking Bird stayed upon to unhitch the two big stallions, while Laughing Creek's assistant took a contingent of ponies to the Medicine Bull's tent. Apple Rose's breath caught in the moment that she was inside. Land shakes. It was all she could say. The buffalo dabbling on the Applejack's mouth looked up. Little Strongheart nodded and that she could leave, and hurried it out so ponies could take her place. As if drawn by the magnetic force, Apple Rose knelt beside Applejack and nuzzled her cheek. Applejack, of course, did not respond, dipping her head and made Apple Rose's tinted spectacles slide down her snout, revealing ruminy eyes that were wet with grief. What the heck did you get yourself mixed up in, youngin'? She murmured. Applejack's breathing was rapid and shallow, as if she was having a nightmare. The pot of water was still by her head, the stick with a rolled scrape of cloth on the end, soaking up the water within. Apple Rose took the stick gently between her teeth, dabbed the water around Applejack's open mouth as the buffalo cow had done, trying to keep the younger mare's lips from cracking and bleeding. The simple act resonated inside Little Strongheart like crow's call echoing down a tunnel. It spurred a long-forgotten memory into the front of her mind. She recalled when she was very young, no more than a calf really. She had spent too long out in the midday sun. Her mother had stayed with her throughout the subsequent fever, tending and comforting as she needed it. Little Strongheart rarely thought of her mother anymore. Heartache was too quick to take hold when she did. Her father had done his best, but he couldn't be both parents. Watching Apple Rose and Applejack in that moment made her wish fervently that her mother was still alive. If y'all can pick a pony to tend, that'd be grand. Brayburn allowed the other ponies to enter and drew close to Little Strongheart. How are the princesses? He asked softly, so nobody else would hear. No change, Little Strongheart replied equally softly, glad to do something else to focus on. No better, but no worse either. I guess we should all be thankful for small miracles, he said, although his face didn't match his words. Rather than thankful, he looked increasingly worried. We get mail from outside Appaloosa once a week on the train, he went on. So if this hadn't happened, we wouldn't have suspected anything that had happened in Canterlot for another 3 days. Do you have another way of contacting the place quickly? Or anywhere else? Best I could say is send a Pegasus to check it out, but it's mighty a long way to fly, and if something really bad has happened here... He trailed off. Appaloosa's a simple town, and it's a really place for most Pegasi to like to live. The weather don't change much here, and ain't much for all flying jobs. We only got 3 among us so far, and one kinda ended up only here because her cousin's only our librarian, and she had no other place to go. So I ain't sure if we can rightly call her an Appaloosian. Thinking about it, I am sure whatever we could call them could even make the trip to Canterlot then and back, especially since it's a dangerous trip. I ain't sure what to recommend. Neither the sheriff nor the mayor could think of nothing either. Lil Strongheart respected Sheriff Silverstar, but disliked the mayor. She was recently elected portly pony, who tolerated the buffaloes because she had not been around during the Orchard crisis. She wondered how she had come to preside over the small town and why it needed 2 ladders when the sheriff had seemed perfectly eloquent before. Ponies could certainly be strange creatures. Right now the sheriff had stayed in town to keep order with the antsy citizens, while the mayor did whatever it was he did in his office all day, while other ponies kept order in his town. Didn't you all say Applejack would be the first pony to wake up from this here sickness? Apple Rose broke into their conversation. Our healer said that was most likely the outcome, Little Strongheart replied. Apple Rose looked back at the bedroll and sighed. You better wake up soon, girl. You're an apple, and apples don't quit when it goes to get tough. You hear me out there? Your granny ain't bothering little sister will want you back as possible. Mark my words. So you better damn well wake up, you hear? Wake up, wake up, wake up! Which was in the white unicorn, with the purple mane on the side of the tent, sat bolt upright, eyes wide with terror, and screamed at the top of her lungs.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.